So, if you're running a CPA firm, does this sound familiar? You're caught in this constant crunch, right? Juggling insane deadlines, trying to find good people, and all while feeling that pressure to stay profitable. Well, there's this huge shift happening in the accounting world, and it's all about one thing: working smarter, not just harder. Let's dive into how you can do that. And that's really the big question, isn't it? How do you actually go from being totally swamped with all that routine stuff to running a firm that's streamlined, efficient, and, actually built for growth? The answer, for a lot of the really smart firms out there, is to start looking beyond their own four walls. All right, so here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll talk about the real challenges firms are up against. Then we'll look at two really powerful ways to scale using outsourcing. We'll even get into why India is such a big deal in this space. And finally, we'll wrap up with what it really means to be a future-proof firm. Let's get into it. Okay, first things first. Let's talk about what we're calling the modern CPA dilemma. And I have a feeling this is going to sound pretty familiar to a lot of you. Firms today are dealing with a real perfect storm. For starters, there's a huge talent shortage. Finding skilled people locally, it's getting so much harder. Then you've got rising costs. Everything from salaries to software is just going up and up. And the big one, time. Your team gets so bogged down with the day-to-day bookkeeping and reporting that they can't get to the really important high-value stuff, like actually talking to clients and helping them strategize. So, okay, with those challenges on the table, let's talk about a smarter way to scale. And it all starts by looking at the key roles inside your own firm and figuring out how to optimize them. Okay, so think about it this way. You've got your accounting manager, right? They're deep in the day-to-day operations, kind of the what's happening right now person. But then you have your controller. Their job is to look at the big picture, the high-level financial strategy, the where are we going person. Now imagine if you could outsource a lot of those routine managerial tasks. Suddenly, your top people are freed up to focus entirely on that strategic work that actually grows the business. That's the key. And that leads us right into our first major strategy, building out what we call your extended offshore team. And listen, this is about way more than just cutting costs. This is about fundamentally expanding what your firm is capable of doing. Now, here's the most important thing to get about this. An offshore CPA team isn't just some random group you're throwing tasks at. No way. They're meant to be a seamless extension of your own staff. They're totally integrated, working with your quality standards, and fitting right into your firm's culture. And this is where the time zone difference becomes an absolute game changer. Picture this. Your US team wraps up their day and logs off. Right then, your offshore team in India is just firing up their computers and getting started. So what happens? Your team comes in the next morning and boom, that complex work is already done and waiting for them. You've basically created a 24-hour work cycle for your firm. It's incredible. So let's just recap the big wins here. You get that amazing continuous workflow we just talked about. Your overhead costs for things like payroll and office space go way down. And this is huge. You get a scalable workforce that you can beef up for busy season and then scale back down. It's all about being agile and super efficient. All right, let's shift gears to the second big strategy, growth through white labeling. Now, this is perfect for any firm that's thinking, I want to offer more services, but I really don't want the headache or the cost of hiring more people. White label accounting is actually pretty simple, but it is so powerful. Basically, you outsource all that back-end heavy lifting, the bookkeeping, the payroll, the tax prep, to an expert partner. But, and this is the key, they do it all under your brand name. As far as your client knows, it's all you. They never see the partner behind the curtain. And the perks here are just fantastic. First off, your clients have zero idea there's an outsourcing partner involved, so your brand stays front and center. Second, you're getting consistent, high-quality work from experts. And maybe the best part? It frees you up to focus on what you're best at, building relationships with clients and actually growing your business. Okay, so at this point, you're probably wondering, all right, but why India? Why is that the go-to spot? And that is a great question. It really boils down to some major strategic advantages you get with that partnership. It's really this powerful combo of a few things. First, the talent pool is just incredible. We're talking about highly skilled professionals, chartered accountants who already know their way around US GAAP and our tax systems. Second is security. The top partners have rock-solid, secure infrastructure to keep your data safe. And third, they're all about efficiency, using the latest and greatest accounting tools to make everything run smoothly.
And let's just double click on security for a second, because I know that's a huge concern. Look, trusted partners are absolutely obsessed with this. They have super strict data protection policies and use fully encrypted systems to make sure that your firm's data, and more importantly, your client's data, is always kept confidential.
So when you start putting all these pieces together, the offshore team, the white labeling, what you're really building is a totally new model for sustainable growth. You're building what we call the future-proof firm.
Look, if there is one single thing you take away from all this, let it be this. The goal here isn't just about saving a few bucks. It's about a fundamental shift in how you operate. At the end of the day, it's all about working smarter, not harder.
And that really brings us to the final question, the one I want you to think about long after this is over. The accounting industry is changing so fast, right? The firms that adapt are the ones that are going to win. So the only question left to ask yourself is your firm ready for the future?